with Robert Slack. I'm here today with Patrick from Gator Irrigation. Hello, Patrick.
How you doing today?
Good. Introduce yourself, Patrick.
My name is Patrick Deneen. I'm the owner of Gator Irrigation and Landscaping Incorporated. Me and my wife, we have 5 kids here in Jacksonville Beach, and we've been in business for 25 years.
Describe your business. I know it's irrigation, but describe the different things you do.
We are a residential-only contractor. We do not do commercial work or new construction for builders, so we specifically specialize in homeowner. We do irrigation design, install, repairs. We also do landscape design, install, and we do landscape lighting as well, and we also get into a little bit of drainage on our properties.
Do you do wells?
We do wells and pumps. We do sub out the well points, but the electrical and all the pump work is done in-house.
Okay. Best time to turn your sprinklers on here in Florida?
So the best time, and really the legal time to water, is between any time in the morning before 10 a.m. Actually in Duval and St. Johns County, it's illegal to water between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. any day of the week. But the best time to water is between the 4 and 6 a.m. time frame.
And what about evening?
You can do an evening water, especially if you have new landscaping or new sod. During the summer months, we recommend morning and afternoon. But generally the best use of the water is in the AM hours. And one of the main reasons is just evaporation and wind. Later in the day, the wind picks up, therefore your irrigation is not spraying exactly where it should be. So the early morning run times, you get best use of the water and less deflection from the rain or from the winds and the weather.
And when you had mentioned sod, how often do you water that?
So that also depends on the time of the year. During the summer months, you'll water every day for 14 days and occasionally have to do some afternoon run times as well. As the cooler months come in, you'll water once every morning for 7 days, back it down to every other day for the second week, and by the third week or so, you're back to a 2-day-a-week schedule during the off season.
Is there something that they can look at the sod and say, hey, maybe I'm overwatering or not watering?
One of the biggest problems we have is people overwater sod, and the sod starts to turn yellow, but they think it's brown. And then they're overwatering the sod, and it ends up getting fungus, brown patch fungus, and you can get webworms and other issues from just excessive watering. So the one thing is that if you're watering 2 or 3 times a day and it still looks brown, most likely it's not brown, it's yellow, and you are overwatering your sod.
Okay. And then just cut back on the watering should correct it? Or
it should, or you might even have to get your spray company involved because there is some stuff that they can put down to help dry it out and to get rid of the fungus.
Okay.
But if you do overwater new sod, you can get fungus, and in my opinion, more people damage their new sod from overwatering it than underwatering it.
Okay. Now, as far as the sprinkle time, I hear a lot of 40 minutes or, that might be overwatering. How do you know if you should do 40 minutes or 20 minutes? Or?
Yeah. A good standard in the industry is there's 2 different types of heads, and there should be 2 different types of zones on your sprinkler system. The most people see are rotor zones, which are pop-up heads that are rotating in a 20 to 25 foot throw pattern. Those are what we consider the rotating head. They should only be running with other rotating heads, and those should run on general about 40 minutes per zone. And then we have the stationary spray heads, which a lot of people see these in their flower beds, but they also cover any area of your yard that is 18 feet or smaller. Those are non-rotating spray heads, usually in a 90 or 180 degree throw. Those only run for 20 minutes because they saturate their area much quicker. One thing we see on a lot of yards is you have rotors and sprays mixed on the same zone on your controller, and it's impossible to get equal amounts of water between the 2 heads. But that is something we find out here that we're constantly trying to fix. There's no way to get even watering between a rotor head and a spray head, but that is what we run into all the time.
If you run into that, you have to create a whole new zone?
Well, sometimes we do, or we will cut off any of the spray heads that are on the rotor zones and then add additional spray heads from the closest spray zone. We are starting to get some new heads in our arsenal, which are called rotary spray nozzles, and you'll see them where it's a spray head, but it's doing a 5-stream rotary nozzle. Those are designed to go on problems. If you have rotors and sprays mixed, If we put a rotary spray nozzle onto that zone, it has the same precipitation rate as a rotor, so you could run it for 40 minutes. But we try not to do that. We use that as a fix. So if we get to a yard and there's just no other spray heads anywhere near it, we'll put a rotary nozzle to try to even out the watering. But it's a case-by-case basis on every home we go to. Well, they came out because if you use a spray head and it saturates its area, once it saturates the ground, the water just starts pooling and running off.
Yeah,
because and people run them for 40 minutes,
yeah.
and after 20 minutes, there's no more water going in your yard. It's just rolling out in your wasteful.
Yeah.
So if you use the rotary sprays, it puts it out at a slower rate and allows it to absorb.
Okay.
But the biggest thing to the rotary sprays for us is we're able to go back to a home. Say this front yard was all rotors and there was no sprays, but they wanted to add 2 sprays up in the flower bed. You would have to run it off the rotor because there's no other sprays up front.
Yeah.
So that would allow someone to come back, add a couple spray heads, and put a rotary nozzle so that you can even out the water. But I do consider that as a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
The proper way is to have a rotor zone out here and a spray zone for your bed.
Yeah.
But we never mix the heads, but
Yeah.
we're going to other people's systems and trying to even them out.
It saves water too.
It absolutely, the rotary nozzles save water.
Freezing. Should you turn your sprinklers on, leave them off a couple of days? I mean,
So the thing with irrigation is you should water year round here in North Florida, at least 1 day a week. My recommendation has always been Halloween or when we fall back on our time clocks to go ahead and set to 1 day a week. With the runtime, you have to be careful that you're not overwatering or not watering enough during the winter, but I still recommend once every 7 to 10 days, even during the winter months. The trick with, you do not want to water on a freezing morning, but you would want to water before a freeze and get your roots wet before the freeze happens. There is nothing we really should do to prepare for a freeze in Florida. There's nothing that you should have to do with your irrigation other than don't run if it's going to freeze that morning.
unless you want to icicles. Is it 5 days a week, 6 days a week as far as your hours?
We are traditionally 5 days a week from 7 to 5 p.m. We do occasionally work on some Saturdays, but that's usually trying to get caught up behind schedule. But we do typically work Monday through Friday, and if we do get behind, we'll get caught up on Saturdays, but we don't traditionally schedule Saturdays just for our mental and physical.
Well, Patrick, I really appreciate your time today and the knowledge that you've shared with us. I know it's helped me, and I know it'll help a lot of locals with their watering. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it, Patrick. Local business owners are your friends and neighbors. They have vested interest in knowing how to serve you. They are passionate about what they do and are nurturing a strong community. And that is reason enough to spend local in your community. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for visiting Park Bench in Neptune Beach. Bye-bye.